Walaikum Assalam.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Just give me a moment and then we're good to go.
Sure.
Right, so hello everyone, good evening from the side of the world. I am Jannat and I'm going to be your host for today's session. And yes, hello Crypto Whales community. Welcome to this exciting Binance Live AMA session. I'm thrilled to have you all here. Um, Today we explore yet another groundbreaking project in the Web3 and blockchain space. Joining us is Kalam from the team InvestaDAO. Um, who will share insights about it, the mission, and how they're making waves in the industry. So we'll dive deep into the innovative solutions, tokenomics, what investment options they have to offer, and what the future holds for their community and investors as well. Feel free to drop your questions, and yes, we'll address as many as possible during this session. So let's get started. Um, Starting with the basics, Kalam, could you please introduce yourselves to our community and how you ended up making what you made today, InvestaDAO?
Yeah, thank you, Jannat. It's nice to meet you, and thank you for having me here. Just quick audio check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm Kalam. I'm the founder of InvestaDAO. A very quick, brief introduction into what InvestaDAO is. It's a blockchain-powered platform that democratizes real estate investment by offering fractional ownership of real-world assets, essentially through tokenization. And the way it kind of started is with the state of the world. I think in many countries across the world, the cost of real estate, owning a property and building a real estate portfolio is increasing dramatically, and it's becoming out of reach for most people. And I think the solution to this is to essentially fractionalize those investments. So instead of having to buy a property for 500K, you can buy a share of a property for $50 or $20 or $5,000 while still retaining the same benefits. So while still being able to earn dividends and yields from those assets, use them as collateral for taking out loans and against other things that you might need. So I think that's definitely the future, and that vision became clear once the real world asset trends and hype started building up. And that's kind of how InvestaDAO was born.
Right, and of course, it's an interesting idea. This is the next big thing, in my opinion. I've seen people, tokenizing art pieces and other stuff, and I think it's high time we get into real estate as well. So yeah, great approach, guys. We kind of had the brief introduction about investor DAO. If you want to add more to this, you can. Otherwise, my next question is, what key features of investor DAO make it unique compared to traditional real estate investment platforms?
Yeah, so let me start off by just kind of elaborating a bit more on InvestaDAO. So I explained what it was earlier, and just to kind of put it in a very simple and easy to understand way, essentially what InvestaDAO is doing is offering you the ability to purchase small shares of real estate and in the future real world assets, and allow you to build a portfolio of real estate and provide you with the same benefits as traditional real estate portfolios. So essentially allowing you to earn dividends and yields from your rental portfolio. And our mission is to bridge the gap between traditional real estate and Web3 by enabling anyone, regardless of the capital, or status or what country you're from, to invest, own, and earn from real estate properties globally. Now, there are obviously some difficulties around this, and we'll probably get into that later, but by utilizing blockchain technology, we aim to make real estate investments more accessible, transparent, and rewarding for everyone. And that's by being built on the DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. Now we get into like what are the key features of InvestaDAO that make it unique. So obviously, in the name InvestaDAO, InvestaDAO is a decentralized autonomous organization, which means that we are aiming to kind of decentralize power to make sure that everyone in the community has a say in how the project is run, what decisions we make, where we spend our money, what type of real estate we invest in, what projects we take on. So kind of giving the power to the community to determine the direction and the future of InvestaDAO, with obviously guidance from experts and the team. So that's kind of one of the main core foundations of InvestaDAO. The second feature I think that makes InvestaDAO different or more unique from traditional real estate investment platforms is that we offer two pathways to ownership of real estate and real world assets. The first one is direct ownership, and direct ownership is very similar to traditional ownership, where you essentially utilize the full spectrum of the InvestaDAO tokenization system, without having to own any investor tokens. So it allows you to purchase a share of a property for as little as $1 directly. And the second, more revolutionary pathway to ownership is what we call the collective ownership method, which is the DAO investment. So investor has a tax on every buy and sell of 5%. And the funds that we generate from this tax go into the community wallet. And as they accumulate over time, we use these funds to purchase real estate and share it equally, or depending on your share, with the community. And this is why we call it a collective investment. And this collective investment, it allows you to essentially earn shares just by simply holding your InvestaDAO tokens. And also earn shares from all future DAO investments without having to reinvest your capital every time. So essentially, just by owning invested tokens, you're starting to build a portfolio of real estate, which is generating yield for you. And one of the cool ways we do this is by using fractional ownership NFTs, so non-fungible tokens. So essentially, once we've purchased the property, we split that up into many shares and we issue an NFT for each share. And the reason we issue an NFT is because it allows you to trade it while retaining, the contract is retained within the NFT. The ownership contract of your share is embedded into the NFT. And the NFT is the source of all payments and dividends. So essentially, when you sell your NFT, all the revenues generated from your share will go to the new holder. And this is one of the benefits. Also with that obviously comes automated yield payouts. So any revenue generated is automatically paid out through a smart contract. We also have an innovative voting system, which is called a reputation-based voting system. So typically within DAOs, you'd find that either they use a model of however many tokens you have determines your voting power, or a one vote per holder, essentially. So regardless of how many tokens you have, you get one vote. And InvestaDAO uses a different approach, which is to use a reputation-based model, which essentially rewards everyone in the community based on their engagement, activity, contribution, and expertise. So with these features, with these attributes, once you contribute to the project, or you are active in the chats, or you have an expertise in a particular field that we're utilizing, you'll start to earn what soulbound tokens, which are ERC 5114, which are essentially like NFTs but not tradable. And these soulbound tokens will grant you with extra voting power. They'll act as badges for the DAO elections. So InvestaDAO will hold biannual elections to elect a community president and community vice president and various other paid roles for the community. And these soulbound tokens will make you eligible. So people who have been contributing and are active in the community will be eligible for these paid roles. And there's many other benefits, but I could go on forever. So I think that we'll summarize it there with the main benefits.
Absolutely, and thank you for sharing so much detail with us. And of course, you guys have really thought that entire process out. Um, just a second, let me get my bag of questions. I think I lost it.
Sure.
Yeah. Also, Kalam, I think we missed your background introduction. Maybe did we?
Say that again.
Did we miss your background, like your introduction? I think we did pretty much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll make it quick. I come from a scientific background. So I have a degree in neuroscience and a master's degree in drug discovery and development. And I entered the crypto space in 2016 after writing my dissertation on how we could improve pharmaceutical supply chains through implementation of blockchain technology. And ever since, I've kind of been in the space working with projects, helping them enter, working with artists to help them kind of formulate their creativity into NFTs and other aspects. And I've been kind of, scattered all over the place in the crypto world. And that's kind of how I entered crypto and how I founded InvestaDAO.
Fascinating to see a scientist in the real estate field. I'm also myself, I come from a medical background and I ended up at public speaking and stuff.
Yeah, all paths lead to crypto.
Yeah. Okay, moving ahead to the next question. Fractional ownership, I'd like to talk more about it. So how does the fractional ownership process work on InvestaDAO, and what benefits does it bring to investors?
Yeah, sure. So this is quite a complex concept. So I'll try to simplify as much as I can. If there's any points you'd like me to clarify, just let me know. So fractional ownership on InvestaDAO works through obviously tokenized real estate assets being represented as NFTs in a very general sense. And broken down into steps, the way it works is we acquire a real estate. Its value is tokenized into fractional NFTs or fractional shares. And investors receive an NFT depending on their share of the liquidity of the pool of tokens of investor. So if you own 1% of the tokens, you receive a share for 1%. And then dividends and rental yields are distributed to NFT holders depending on your share. So if you own 1% of the investor tokens supply, you'll receive a share for 1% and you'll receive 1% of all revenues generated from that share. And the way this is done conceptually is the InvestaDAO ecosystem will consist of 2 tokens and 2 coins. So the coins are obviously the investor coin, which is a platform governance utility token. And the second token which is not yet released, will be coming soon, is the investor RWA token. And this is security. It won't be tradable. You'll be able to get this token by converting your investor tokens. And this is the token that allows us to be compliant, regulatory compliancy in many jurisdictions around the world. And this token determines represents your ownership of RWAs and assets. And the 2 tokens we have are obviously, as I mentioned, fractionalized NFTs and soulbound tokens. Now, fractional NFTs are they represent your specific share of an asset, because investor RWA tokens represent your overall share in the DAO. And then broken down even more, fractionalized NFTs will represent your individual share of a specific asset. So if we invest in 4 properties, you will receive 4 NFTs for each property. And the benefits it brings to investors is obviously the biggest benefit is that we are compliant, we will be compliant, and we will be regulated. So the contracts, the ownership contracts you will have will be legally recognized, legally binding contracts. Your share will be a share of a property, not a representation of a share. The second benefit is that it allows you to invest for very small amounts to buy a share of a property for $1, for $5, $20. And the third benefit is it allows us to easily automate rental yields and payments from real world assets, and fractionalize those payments alongside the assets themselves.
Okay, got you. Well, I hope everyone you're taking notes because that's some detailed answers. Moving ahead to the next one, can you explain how the DAO voting system works? Because we, at the start of the conversation, we discussed there's going to be presidential stuff. So, especially the role of soul-bound tokens in reputation-based voting. Okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like as I mentioned previously, InvestaDAO introduces a new voting system for the community, and this voting system is designed to reward you for your activity, your engagement, your contributions, and your expertise. And the way we do this is essentially by using, as you mentioned, soulbound tokens. Soulbound tokens, I'll recap quickly, are essentially like non-transferable NFTs. So NFTs that you can't send, that you can't sell. And the way this works is we will be releasing a platform called Soulbound, which allows you to track your milestones. So for example, there'll be a milestone for uh, 7-day streak of activity in the Telegram chat, let's say. This will be level 1. Once you earn this milestone, you'll receive a soulbound token for this milestone, which will provide you with +2 votes in the voting process, alongside a badge to show that you've earned this. And these kind of get more difficult, or they increase in difficulty as you go up the ranks. So eventually, there'll be soulbound tokens which you can earn for providing your expertise. Say you're a real estate expert and you're providing expertise on a potential investment, and that leads to an investment. You'll receive a soulbound token which rewards you for your contribution. And this soulbound token, for example, will give you +10 votes and make you eligible to put yourself up for elections as the community president, for example. So essentially, that's the way it works. And what we're trying to do is to decentralize the voting power and reward people for their activity and what they contribute to projects, rather than just how much money they started with. Yeah.
No, actually, that's a great idea, and that at the same time sounds fun, and it feels like you are involving the people, which is the most important thing, in my opinion,
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
Web3 space.
And we're trying to make it fun, as in we're trying to make it like a Pokemon style trading card game, essentially, where you try to collect as many milestones and soulbound tokens as you can.
Yeah, of course, that's a great idea because people always connect real estate with boring. So yeah, great idea, guys.
Yeah.
Um, Next one is what types of real estate investments does InvestaDAO prioritize, and how do these align with current market trends?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So there's 5 types of real estate that we'll be investing in, and I'll break them down one by one. The first is social housing. And for those that don't know what that means, social housing is essentially properties that provide a benefit to communities, and do more for communities and people themselves. So social housing is a essential focus for InvestaDAO, as it aligns with our global efforts to provide affordable and accessible living options for underserved communities across the world. And by investing in social housing, what that allows us to do is deliver impact, so we can contribute to societal well-being by addressing housing shortages in urban and rural areas. So, for example, in London, There's a major, for anyone that lives in London might know this, the rental prices are increasing like crazy. And what we would do is, for example, if we purchase the property in London, we'd offer it under the London Living Wage rental scheme, which will offer rents 40, 25, 30, 40% under the market average. And this also contributes to stability because these investments are typically supported by government initiatives or NGOs, and it allows us to kind of secure these investments within the DAO and provide consistent returns. And these are also community orientated because, as we know, many people in crypto are average people. Not everyone in crypto is wealthy. And many of us share these problems. So some people may be living in social housing that are listening to this right now. So social housing aligns with our ethos of democratization and inclusivity, allowing our investors to support meaningful causes while still focusing on earning returns for themselves. The second type of property, the second and third, I'll do two together because they're quite similar, are appreciation-focused assets and yield-focused assets. So we focus on assets that have high growth in real estate for their long-term value, or assets that prioritize steady rental income. So, for example, some cities in the world are providing, or you can buy a property in some cities in the world where you can earn 10, 12% rental yield a year. And there's also some cities in the world which are up and coming and their prices are increasing 10, 20% year on year. So we'll also kind of target those two types of investments. And the fourth type of investment is short-let properties, or what people kind of call them now as Airbnb. So what we do is we tap into the booming vacation rental market. And obviously, as everyone knows, the rise of platforms like Airbnb has kind of revolutionized the short-term rental market. And we can capitalize on this trend by acquiring and fractionalizing properties in high-demand travel destinations for high yield potentials, flexibility, and in very diverse locations, while also offering discounts to our community for if anyone wants to stay there. So if we purchased the property in the south of France and listed on Airbnb, our community will be able to stay there for a week for 30, 40% discount, let's say. And the fifth and final type of investment we make will be commercial properties. Those are very boring, just commercial warehouses, and they tend to have high yields and provide consistent incomes.
Got you. And I think the Airbnb idea is smart. Also, Kalam, don't mind me being a little low on energy today because I am literally like exhausted. My
Oh,
screen
no
time
problem.
has been
No
insane.
problem. No
But yeah,
problem.
I definitely like the idea of the Airbnb part personally because that's something which has been in the back of the mind for so long. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
will personally explore more about that. Okay. Next question is, what are the primary goals for InvestaDAO in the next 6 to 12 months? More likely the short-term goals, and how do you plan to expand the community and ecosystem?
Yeah, sure. So within the next 6 months, we'll be launching our Investor Hub, which is the platform where you'll be able to manage your real world asset portfolio, your voting and view analytics on your investments and how they've been doing. We'll also be making our first real estate investment, which will be fractionalized and distributed to the community. And we'll introduce the automation of rental yield payouts. We'll be launching the Investor RWA token for regulated compliant ownership. And we'll also be introducing the Investor Bridge, which will allow for swapping between Investor and the Investor RWA token. And in the more distant future, so a year plus, we'll be launching our Soulbound platform, which will allow you to track your milestones and unlock badges through Soulbound tokens. And we'll be launching fiat to RWA conversions. So we'll be allowing you to purchase directly. You'll be able to purchase fractionalized shares directly with fiat instead of having to go through crypto. And we'll be obviously expanding to multi-chain. And the kind of your second part of the question, which was how what we're going to be doing for marketing and growing the community, we already have plans to kind of start reaching out and building our community, which we've already started doing. We'll be launching our launch paid contributor roles to reward active members. So people within the community who are early will be receiving paid roles within our kind of team. And we'll be hosting community events, AMAs like this, webinars to engage and grow our user base. We have various deals with KOLs and um, media personalities. We will be attending various crypto related and real estate related events across the world. And our name will be out there. And obviously we believe that once you build it, they will come. So as we continue to build, people start to recognize the benefits of participating in InvestaDAO and hopefully come.
Yeah, appreciate it, and I think you guys are like going really fast. You're really dynamic, and um, yeah, looking forward to what you guys have in store. Um, Moving ahead to the next one. Okay, so that's what you guys are building is definitely not an easy task. So, what challenges did InvestaDAO face during its development, and how were they addressed?
Oh, tough question. Yeah. So, I mean, like with everyone that's built a business or any sort of company, they'll know that you face many challenges. But I think the biggest challenge we face, especially within the crypto space, was ensuring that we achieve regulatory compliance. Because obviously, as everyone is probably aware within the space, not being compliant can be a disaster for you and the project and the investors and everyone else. So it took us a long time to kind of determine a structure which allowed us to be, or which will allow us to be compliant and to adhere to legal frameworks in the jurisdictions we'll be operating in. And obviously, alongside this is kind of the complexity of tokenization, because you have to kind of build a system of tokenization while considering regulatory compliance. And the way we achieve this is essentially by doing a lot of work with legal experts, back and forth, trial and error, and focusing and while having these conversations, ensuring that we don't lose the focus of creating a transparent, accessible, and inclusive model for InvestaDAO.
Got you. Um, So, how does InvestaDAO ensure that its investment opportunities are inclusive and accessible to smaller investors? That's an important one.
Yeah, so as I mentioned previously, because obviously we're fractionalizing assets, it will allow us to offer you, the investor, a chance to access these assets for as little as $1 or $2 or $5. Now, realistically, obviously, as everyone knows, we are built on Ethereum, and Ethereum has gas fees, so probably investing $1 is not a wise decision. But $20, $30 would be possible. And that is kind of the reason why we're trying to build a fiat to RWA bridge to kind of to fill this gap. Because if someone wants to invest $20 at the moment, you'll probably lose half of that in fees from getting your money from the bank into Uniswap or MetaMask. So we're trying to bridge that gap by building a fiat to RWA bridge. And also, obviously, being built as a DAO and using blockchain, it allows us to provide global access, ensuring everyone can participate, as blockchain obviously is decentralized and promotes inclusivity and accessibility. And will be in the future, this is further down our roadmap, but we'll be planning to introduce interest-free NFT-backed loans. So essentially, as you're earning these fractional NFTs, you'll be able to lock them with a smart contract and take out a small interest-free loan using your NFTs as collateral. And this will be able to provide people in times of need access to emergency funds without having to face crazy interest rates or crazy fees or anything like that.
Well, that's a great step for the community, honestly, if you ask me. That's a really good idea. Interest-free loans is something we really need in the Web3 space. Okay, I have one more question before I let you go. So, what measures are in place to attract institutional investors while maintaining decentralization and community-first values?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the key foundations InvestaDAO is built on is transparency. And I know that's a buzzword that's used a lot in this space, but what we mean by transparency is that we ensure that all our operations, audits, and financials are publicly available. The community will be able to sit on most meetings that we have, power for decisions, decision making, investment selection, how we pay our, what we spend our finances on, what we pay our team, what we pay for listings. Well, everything will be made to, will go down to a community vote within reason. And this will be a staged kind of approach. So that is what we mean by when we say transparency. We also have a commitment to be decentralized. And what we mean by this is we balance institutional participation with community driven governance through stuff like reputation based voting systems and soulbound token incentives, because that allows us to onboard institutional investors, but kind of retaining the voting power within the community because it's not based on how much you invest, it's based on your activity and engagement. And at the same time, the main attraction for institutional investors will be the investor RWA token, because this will be a compliant security token tailored for institutional needs. So they'll be able to access fractional ownership of real world assets and real estate in a compliant way. And also, further along the roadmap, we'll be launching our RWA platform, which will allow third parties to list their own assets for fractionalization. And this will probably be very attractive to institutions, as they'll be able to, for example, fractionalize office space. If you have extra office space, you have to fractionalize office space, and warehouses and other elements that they might own.
Yeah, got it. And thank you. That's all I had to ask you today. And yeah, thank you everyone who joined us today for this insightful Binance Live EMA with Investor DAO. And of course, Kalam, a huge thank you. Us scientists in the house, guys. And of course we had an in-depth conversation and got real good knowledge about InvestaDAO. Before we conclude the session, would you like to give any closing remarks or any other thing you'd like to share with us?
No, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having me. And if anyone obviously has any more questions, they can feel free to jump into the Invested Our Telegram group and ask away. We'll be hosting AMAs every week there, and I'll be open to everyone to kind of ask whatever you like and dig deeper into Invested Out. But yeah, thank you for your time and thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm certain. I guess I checked the comment section at Twitter. We had a bunch of questions there. So yeah, but today we learned so much about how InvestaDAO empowers communities, democratizes investment opportunities, and of course introduces groundbreaking features like reputation-based ownership and fractional ownership. So, everyone, to stay updated, don't forget to follow InvestaDAO's official channels. Be a part of their journey in revolutionizing real estate. On behalf of Crypto Whales, thank you for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I'd love to extend an invitation to you, Kalam, and the InvestaDAO team to join us for a dedicated X space as well. Maybe if you'd like to do that, because the audience we have over here and there is kind of a different base altogether, so maybe that would be a great idea as well. And since I saw a lot of curiosity spike on the X, so it would be an excellent way to engage even further with our vibrant community. Let me know if you'd like to make it happen. And yep, thanks again and see you at our next
Yeah.
CME.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone. It's a wrap.